Michael Tate, the voice of the Newsboys, a man hailed as a Christian music icon, carrying arenas with his charisma, his voice, and his testimony of faith. But behind the stage lights, cocaine, DUIs, and allegations of drugging shadowed his ministry for 16 years. And now, thanks to the Roy's report, the facade has crumbled. Wes Campbell, the powerful owner of the Newsboys brand, swore he had no idea about Tate's double life. Yet sources insist, "I don't know a single person in Christian music who didn't know." So today, we're pulling back the curtain on Michael Tate's hidden world. The cocaine benders, the sensual misconduct, and the industry-wide cover-up that left fans betrayed and the Newsboys' empire hanging by a thread. This is Anointed TV, and you're watching our exclusive breakdown. Michael Tate's 16 years of cocaine benders, rugging, and DUI. March 2009. Founding member Peter Furler steps back from the microphone. On the very same day, the Newsboys announced their new frontman, Michael Tate, a former star of DC Talk. But just 2 months later, the cracks began to show. May 11th, 2009. At 3 a.m., in the heart of Nashville's tourist district, police spot a Chevy Malibu swerving without headlights. Inside, Michael Tate was then 43 years old and already at the helm of one of Christian music's biggest bands. He tells officers he's had just one cranberry vodka. But after failing 3 sobriety tests and refusing a blood alcohol check, he's booked for DUI. Tate spent 48 hours in jail, pleaded guilty to reckless driving, and was slapped with probation, community service, and a suspended license. And yet, fans never knew. The Newsboys never said a word. Fast forward to 2016. The DUI came back to haunt the band when Canadian border officers refused Tate entry, forcing the cancellation of multiple shows. At first, management blamed terrorism-related security concerns. But the truth? Michael Tate's criminal record had finally caught up with him. And still, management claimed ignorance. Wes Campbell later told the Roy's report they didn't know about the DUI until 2016. But let's be honest, how do you not know your frontman has been to court 6 times, done community service, and had his license suspended for half a year? This wasn't just a mistake. It was the first glimpse of a pattern. Sin buried, consequences dodged, fans misled. By 2010, the Newsboys were reinventing themselves. Their Born Again album promised a new era. But behind the studio doors, chaos was brewing. Musician Jeremy McCoy recalls walking into Blackbird Studios, ready to record bass for the single Save Your Life. When it came time for Michael Tate to lay down vocals, he was nowhere to be found. The reason? Another cocaine bender. And it wasn't just once. McCoy says Tate would vanish for days at a time, ghosting producers, disappearing from sessions. Everyone in the industry knew, but somehow, management claimed they didn't. But drugs weren't the only issue. McCoy also accused Tate of stealing songwriting credits. He cites the track Enemy on the 2013 album Restart. According to McCoy, the song was completed long before Tate ever touched it. Yet when the royalties came, Tate's name magically appeared as a co-writer. Emails and demos back up McCoy's story. Still, the label sided with Tate. McCoy's conclusion? "I don't know a single person in Christian music who doesn't know. The extent of the cover-ups is unreal." And yet, Wes Campbell insists Tate was simply an eccentric artist. The shocking truth is this. The problem wasn't just Tate. It was the entire CCM ecosystem around him. Promoters, executives, pastors. They all vouched for him. They all signed letters of recommendation, portraying him as upstanding. They all looked the other way. Because as long as the money flowed and the crowd sang along to God's Not Dead, who cared what happened off stage? This wasn't accountability, it was protection. One crew member, known only as Sam, recounts a disturbing encounter on tour. It started innocently enough. Tate offered him a hand massage on the bus. Strange, but not criminal. But soon after, things escalated. At a bar, Tate gave him a painkiller and told him to mix it with alcohol. Sam, young and impressionable, went along. When he finally returned to the bus, he found his bunk, covered in vomit. Later, someone told him Tate had gone looking for him in his bed. Sam spent the night in the lounge, too unsettled to sleep. Management never held Tate accountable. Instead, Steve Campbell, the tour manager, was left to clean up the mess. And once again, Tate got a pass. In January 2025, Tate finally admitted part of the truth. He confessed to abusing substances. He confessed to touching men in an unwanted, sensual way. But he did not admit to the most serious allegations. Claims that he drugged a woman and watched as she was. Claims of SA against minors. He remained silent. And silence is not innocence. The fallout has been catastrophic. The Newsboys Canadian tour, cancelled. Multiple US tour dates, gone. Radio airplay on K-Love, pulled. Fan base, fractured. For years, the band built its brand on being God's Not Dead. Now, the irony is crushing. What was once a multi-million-dollar Christian music empire now teeters on collapse. Wes Campbell, the man behind the Newsboys brand, continues to insist he had no idea. He paints Tate as the perfect redemption story, talented, charismatic, inspiring. But insiders call that narrative a lie. Either Campbell knew and covered it up, or he didn't know because he didn't want to. And in either case, thousands of fans, churches, and even children were left vulnerable. This story isn't just about Michael Tate. It's about an entire Christian music industry that refuses to police itself. An industry more concerned with profits and branding than with holiness or accountability. Because if Michael Tate's behavior was an open secret, then the silence of others is complicity. 2013. Journalist Sarah Fine was ecstatic on her 22nd birthday, on tour with the Newsboys during their Restart tour. But what began as a harmless surprise party quickly twisted into something darker. Fine, assigned to sleep with the support act Rapture Ruckus, joined the crew for her birthday celebration. Alcohol flowed freely, even though she was under strict instructions not to drink. By the time Michael Tate and drummer Duncan Phillips arrived, most of the bus was already drunk. Then came the chilling moment. A musician handed Fine a red cup, swearing it was just Sprite. Seconds later, his wife pulled her aside, warning her the drink had been spiked to loosen her up. Fine never touched it. But the fact that it happened at all left her shaken. Photos from the party, posted on Instagram, show Tate and Phillips celebrating that very night. Proof that the Christian party scene was alive and well on the Newsboys' so-called dry tour. And Fine? She kept quiet, afraid to lose her job, afraid to confirm every reason her employer had given for never allowing women on the road. 2016. Music journalist Mary Nickel set up a press shoot for the band's upcoming album Love Riot. But between takes, the Christian rock stars dropped the mask. She recalls Michael Tate and Duncan Phillips swearing, joking crudely, and slipping into what she describes as a boys' club dynamic. Then came the line she never forgot. Michael Tate, in front of the crew, snapped into a Nazi salute and said, "Heil Hitler." For Nickel, a first-generation German-American, the moment was gutting. Yet, nobody else reacted. No publicist stopped him. No manager intervened. It was business as usual, and Nickel, desperate to keep her career intact, kept silent. Years later, she admitted, they had become more brand than band, a facade carefully curated to commodify Christ. When COVID shut down touring in 2020, many thought the Newsboys might finally hit reset. Instead, the culture of partying and cover-ups continued. Former crew member Kim says that during one post-COVID tour, Michael Tate and tour manager Steve Campbell worked together to roofie her. She recalls Tate asking Campbell to mix one of his special shots. Moments later, as Tate distracted her with a photo, Campbell handed her the drink. Within minutes, Kim was dizzy, disoriented, and blacking out on her way to the hotel. She says it was the first and only blackout of her life. Her conclusion? She had been rugged. And she's not alone. At least 7 people, men and women, have now come forward, alleging that Tate rugged them before SAS. As the accusations mounted, denials poured in. Steve Campbell called the roofie claims abhorrent. Wes Campbell insisted he knew nothing of Tate's lifestyle. Kevin McNeese, president of NewReleaseToday.com, said he was unaware of incidents with Fine or Nickel. And yet, the testimonies pile up. The photos exist, the stories line up. The more the insiders deny, the more fans ask, was ignorance the truth or just another cover-up? Michael Tate's 16 years of cocaine benders, sensual misconduct, and cover-ups have left a scar not just on the Newsboys, but on Christian music as a whole. The Bible warns, "Be sure your sin will find you out." Numbers 32:23. And in the end, sin always does. This story isn't just about one man's fall. It's about a system that enabled him, producers, managers, pastors, and executives, all too willing to protect the brand instead of the people. Cocaine. DUIs, spiked drinks, anti-Semitic jokes, alleged assaults. This is the legacy hidden behind the lights of the Newsboys stage. And now, the Christian music industry faces a choice. Will it keep papering over the sins of its stars with Bible verses and branding? Or will it finally choose truth, however ugly, over image? Because the world is watching, and judgment begins in the house of God.